Good morning. Today I'd like to talk about my grandfather Sasha and how he helped me overcome dyslexia. My grandfather, Samuel Sasha Broido, was the most amazing man I knew. Learning about his struggles taught me that you can overcome any challenge if you try hard enough. This might sound cliche, but my grandfather overcame all odds and achieved his goal of becoming a successful engineer and living a free and happy life. He inspired me to overcome any challenge, big or small, including the biggest obstacle I've had so far, which is dyslexia. From the start, my grandfather had 2 strikes against him. He was a Jew in Russia, born in 1936, at a time when anti-Semitism was on the rise, and he was extremely poor. When my grandfather was a little boy living in Lithuania, he and his mother Miriam nearly escaped the Nazis who were marching through the Soviet Union. They left everything they had behind and ran to the train station. When they arrived the train was already leaving. Miriam lifted Sasha up to strangers on the train, not knowing if she would be able to get on, but at least he would be able to survive. She managed to climb onto the very back of the train, which was the last one to leave. My grandfather and his mother ended up in Siberia, where they almost died in a snowstorm, but a lady gave them shelter and work to wait out the war, so they could eventually return home. You could say that my grandfather has been through a lot of rough times. When they finally were able to return to Lithuania after the war, they found that many friends and family had died in the Holocaust. My grandfather did incredibly well in school and always made sure he was the best in the schools he attended, so he could not be excluded from top programs that discriminated against Jews. He succeeded in becoming the #1 student at his high school, and so he was able to get into Leningrad Polytechnic University, which is like the MIT of Eastern Europe. Being a top student eventually led to his freedom, because he was offered jobs in other parts of the world. He worked for Bell Labs in New Jersey, and after that, Xerox PARC in Palo Alto. The challenge I have had to overcome, while not nearly as difficult as my grandfather's, is dyslexia. In 2nd grade, when reading became a big part of class at the Spanish immersion school I attended, every day we had an allotted time to read. The problem for me was I could barely read English, let alone Spanish. So every day I would pretend to read a book, but actually I was just looking at the pictures and making up a story to go with it. My teacher was a bit confused when my reading level didn't go up all year, though I seemed to be doing fine in most everything else. Her explanation was that I was behind and would catch up, so they put me in a program called Reading Partners, but my reading level still didn't go up. My dyslexia also made my spelling terrible, and many of the sentences I wrote incoherent. Here are a few of the creative spellings I used in 3rd grade. Could, spelled C-O-D, almost spelled O-M-O-S-T, and my personal favorite, about, spelled U-B-A-W-T. It got much worse in 3rd grade, when every night we had to log at least 30 minutes of reading. At that point, we knew there was something wrong, but my school, Daniel Webster, refused to test me for dyslexia. So we had to find somebody who could take the test, which took about a month. Every week the problem got worse. While my classmates were reading 500-page books, I was reading 20-page picture books. When I finally took the test and got the results back, I was actually relieved that I wasn't stupid. My grandfather helped me improve in so many ways. Almost every day, Sasha would drive 45 minutes just to see my brother and I, and help us with whatever we needed help with. Many times, he would help me with reading and writing, even if English was his 4th language, after Russian, Polish, Hebrew, which are nothing like English. but he was perfectly fluent in it and helped me immensely. When he came, he would amaze us with stories of living in Poland, how he got his PhD, his first jobs as an explosive tester in Israel, or stories about the war. Sometimes, just knowing that I had such an amazing man as part of me helped me move forward. If I was upset for any reason, mainly because I was so bad at reading, he would cheer me up. My grandfather believed that the afterlife was in people's memories. Like, after you die, your memories, you live on every time somebody remembers you. I like that idea. And it's nice to know that I have the power to bring my grandfather back to life. In fact, he's probably here right now because we're all thinking about him. Even though my grandfather passed away in May, it's nice to know he will always live on in my memory and the memory of my family.